Guess who?
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm Catrina.
And I'm Rachel, and this is Podro Pascal, the Pedro Pascal podcast.
The podcast's all about Pedro Pascal.
A-
How are
And
you?
and the podcast that you may have heard of recently from a big old publication, but we'll get to that later.
Wow. What a week.
What are we, Katrina? How have you been?
I've been doing really good. Lots of work, lots of day job stuff, but otherwise cruising and avoiding bruisings. How about
Great.
you?
Good. I have had a week. I ended up getting my cat microchip this week, which made me very nervous. But he's fine. He doesn't care. But I was nervous.
There's a microchip in her cat, you guys.
There's a microchip in Benji. I'll never lose him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's been a week. It's been an exciting time for the pod. It's been an exciting time for everybody.
Oh, wow,
But
yeah. We had
um
like 30 minutes of banter before we started.
yeah,
Another advanced apologies to producer Ashley, who had to sit through that and us continuously saying, "All right, we'll start." Wait, no, actually,
well, because we were talking about, because we're as we said last time, we're going to Celebration. So if you guys have, you know, any ideas of like meeting outside and saying hi to us, or I don't know, yelling at me at Avengers Campus, because I'm gonna go. I don't care. I want to see my good boy and my main bitch Wanda.
Mhm.
And my good boy is Peter Parker. If you don't know that already, that's sad for you. But uh, as I hold up my wrist with my Spider-Man tattoo, but that's what we were chit-chatting about. But this is we got to focus up here, because this is a big old week for us
Oh yeah, it
on
is.
Podro Pascal.
Yes.
First, before we get into our excitement, Pedro Pascal is back in Canada. He's filming The Last of Us, so that means we've had more grainy pictures.
Love those. Love it. I love him especially because like I'm also approaching it from the Last of Us fandom, and so like
Yeah.
you see pictures where it's like, oh my god, this looks exactly like blah blah blah, and it's like you'd only know that if you like were playing the game and were able to like toggle the camera and go like, wow, they really did replicate those sets, you guys. And I'm like, I love gamers. Like that's how passionate they are.
Yeah, and I just like all these pictures because they're so pixelated
Yeah.
and bad. Cause not bad pictures, but bad because you can't really see anything in them. And
Like
yet the minute one
whoever's doing set security on The Last of Us needs to get hired for like the next Star Wars movie because like they're not allowing bull crap. They're like, here,
the
enjoy some crappy TMZ pictures.
yeah, the pictures that are so far away and pixelated you can barely see what's happening. And you're like, wait,
Hmm.
is that Tess? Is that scene? Oh, that's cool. Like it's like that's how you have to kind of navigate
Yeah.
through what's going on. Um
Mm-hmm.
Also, before we move on, The Last of Us, it was revealed recently that Pedro Pascal is bad at the game. And someone told Bella Ramsey to teach him, and she also said, I'm also bad. So it's very sweet that the two of them were like, I'm bad at this game.
There's nothing wrong with being bad at video games. Sometimes
No.
you just like you need to hop on story mode and just play through the story and then maybe you get to like mash your buttons a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody define or gatekeep games for you, Pedro Pascal. I know you're listening. Play what you can.
And here's why we know how he's listening, guys.
Nice segue. Nice.
Guys, here's a little shock for us all.
Have you ever listened to Podro Pascal, the podcast all about Pedro Pascal?
No. But I will.
So, if you didn't know what that was Vanity Fair's lie detector test, asking Pedro Pascal if he has listened to us, and he said he had not. He didn't know what we were, but he would. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't heard anything from him. Oh well, okay. We heard through Lauren Ash's tweet that he loves Lauren Ash, a friend of the podcast.
And who doesn't?
Yeah.
Honestly, who
Friend of
doesn't?
the podcast, Superstore Zone, Lauren Ash, who we love. Our producer Ashley said she did check our email just in case. Because I don't check our emails, so I'm glad Ashley's doing it. But he has not said anything to us as of yet. If he has listened, maybe he hates us. It was like,
It's and that would be life, right? Like sometimes people hate you. See, the next time he gets asked, like, "Oh, have you heard that podcast?" and he'll be like, "Oh God, those two." Yeah.
He'll be like, "Oh yeah, I love old Lauren Ash." We'll be like, "Yeah, we do too," but she's not on it.
Exactly. It's fine. We'll hold that title proudly.
Yeah.
Annoyed Pedro Pascal on April 30th, 2022.
Well, it is now May 1st.
May 1st, 2022. Whenever he's listening to this, 2022. Yeah. We'll put that in our bio.
How dare you? It's 2055, and he's like, I'm finally getting around to Podro.
This is the thing, though. Okay, Rachel and I are actually we're trapped in a podcast loop. And until we get him on the show, we can't stop making it. So please free us. I mean, help us complete the second season of the show by encouraging him to come hang out. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I want the show to go on forever because
I would love him to come on once a season and just like every season finale is him being like, "All right, what'd you guys talk about this season?" We're like, let's run it down.
I'll check in.
Yeah, it's a check every season. But yeah, so that happened to us, and we all lost our minds because as one does. So he is aware of us. He hasn't said either way whether or not he will. He has listened or has not. So I don't know. Pester him, I guess. But
now I don't know what to say. You know why I'm like wearing makeup for this episode. Because it's like, oh, just in case.
Yeah, we gotta look cool.
Gotta look good. Gotta look clean. Can't look like I just rolled out of bed and started recording at 3 p.m. like usual. So.
I should hold up my my Macbeth playbill and be like, look, I am cultured. Yes. I love Shakespeare. But yeah. So that's what happened to us, guys. In our doc, Ashley did say that he subtweeted us, which gave me a little bit of anxiety. So thanks.
Oh no! What? Ashley. Where? What happened?
No, she meant like that he tweeted at us, but it was through Lauren Ash. I internalized it instead of doing anything else.
It's just at us if you feel like insulting us. Just be brave.
He did say that Lauren Ash is a genius, which she is.
Very much.
No comment. No comment on me or Catrina.
It's fine. She deserves it.
What we need to do is I'll text Lauren and be like, "Hey, Lauren, you got to come back on the show so that we can get getting
the second part of this podcast eventually is going to be a Lauren Ash podcast, and we're gonna have to come up with another name that's kind of like clever and like rhymes with hers, but we have to complete this one first.
Lauren Castish, I don't know. Okay, don't make me
Lauren
think of it. Lauren
but then every Lauren will in on it.
Just do Lauren Bacall. But yes. So, well, one more time for good.
Have you ever listened to Podro Pascal, the podcast all about Pedro Pascal?
No. But I will.
It's the lean forward smile that both feels menacing and great.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
Just like, what does that mean? But yeah, so we have no further no
updates, no context. Oh, we did gain like a bunch of new followers and like listeners and stuff, which was super cool. And like that's something that I was very excited about. It was cool to like Pedro knowing that we're around is cool and stuff, but like now we can say like as seen on Vanity Fair, first off.
Yeah.
Like, we just put that somewhere on our podcast and it wouldn't be a lie. And then second, we gained all of these like new folks in our listening pool. And so I'm really excited to bring them this particular episode.
What if that was our shirt that we wore at Celebration? Was Podro Pascal as seen on Vanity Fair?
Yes,
It just
yes.
walked
Oh my
around
god,
in it.
yes. 100. Please plan this. We figured it out, you guys. This
It's
was part of
Podro
our 30-minute
Pascal.
like talk beforehand.
Yeah,
Like it was like, what are we gonna do about our shirts? Yes, yes. Ashley is
Podro Pascal
opening
as
Canva
seen
as
on
we speak.
yeah, Podro Pascal as seen on Vanity Fair.
I love
Ashley
this.
said I'll open Canva. She didn't comment on the fact that she gave me anxiety by writing subtweeted, but she did comment that she is opening Canva. But yeah, so that's our week. So we got obviously
Heroes
derailed
can't
a
handle
bit.
everything, you know.
Ashley said she has selective hearing, and that's but yeah, so obviously we've had a week, but then that does lead us to an episode I have long been waiting for.
Oh yes.
A movie that I do in my heart feel was made for me in some regards. This week, Katrina, would you like to tell the people what we are covering?
This week we are covering the long-awaited, highly anticipated, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring
Woo!
Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal. I think this has been this is the one movie we've talked about all year where it's like we need to make sure the podcast comes back so that we can talk about this movie.
Yeah, well, because this movie was supposed to come out last year, obviously it didn't. And finally came out. I've never been happier. It's a movie directed by Tom Gormican, written by Tom Gormican and Kevin Eaton, I think is his last name. It's Etten. So I'm not sure if it's Etten or Eaton. But it is time, before we get into the meat of it, it is time for my favorite part, because I talk a lot, the rundown.
Hey. Love a good rundown.
That's our new theme song for this part. It's just, hey. Love a good rundown. So, this movie is basically a fan fiction dream. It is the idea of you getting to hang out with your favorite actor. But it takes it one step further because Javi Gutierrez, who is played by Pedro Pascal, his favorite actor happens to be action star Abed from Community, Mindbreaker himself, Nicolas Cage. And so if you don't know about Nicolas Cage, there is a long history of movies where people cannot figure out if Nick Cage is a good actor or not. I posit the idea that he is one of our greatest actors. He just understands acting on a different level. Yeah. So sometimes movies are bad because the people are not on the same page. And I think if you get on the same page as Nick Cage, it's a brilliant movie. If you guys are on different pages, it's a bad movie. And that's my hot take. He's always good, though. I watched so many Nick Cage movies recently. Some rewatches from when I was a kid, others brand new. So I went full hog into this. But the movie is Nick Cage with a K. So Nicolas Cage is Nicolas. But in this movie, presumably, it's Nichol, Nicholas, but with an H. Right. Because Nicholas with an H is a K. His Nick in real life there's no K, it's just NIC. And so that's how you can tell the difference between real life Nick Cage and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent Nick Cage.
Right. You can absolutely hear that in the name.
Yeah, Nick. So
clearly.
Yeah, clearly. So in the movie, he is getting a divorce from his wife, Sharon Horgan, who, if you guys have not watched Catastrophe, you should. Carrie Fisher is in it. It's delightful, and she is very, very funny. But anyways, she's great. Watch that and This Way Up. But so she plays his ex-wife, and he is like down on his luck. And if you know anything about Nick Cage, he is famously bad with money. He buys things like two-headed snakes and like weird animals and stuff that
He
he
has like
doesn't
an
need.
expensive Gundam collection. I know that.
Yeah,
I need to
he
tell the. Oh
had
wait,
he had so many comics that got like stolen. Like he himself in real life is bad with money, and the movie kind of like references that in its own way because he like is spending so much to live at Chateau Marmont, right?
yeah, Chateau
Yeah,
Marmont.
and he has what $600,000 in debt. He's in the
Yeah.
Sunset Tower, yeah, but I think he has like $600,000 in debt or something like that. And so he's meeting with his agent, played by Neil Patrick Harris, in the perfect NPH role because he's barely in this movie. No offense, Neil Patrick Harris, I don't dislike you, but sometimes they make him
It's
the
okay.
focus too much.
Here's we'll go into detail about it. But my thing about the Neil Patrick Harris in most roles in this role is that he plays himself, which isn't so bad in this movie. But you know,
No, because it was the perfect amount of Neil Patrick Harris too. He's
exactly.
just like in the beginning, there's a phone call later in the movie, and then that's pretty much it. You don't really see Neil Patrick Harris outside of that. Nick Cage is bad with money. He needs money. He wanted to get this movie role really badly, where he did a Boston accent, and the way he wanted to get the role was to aggressively do the scene for the screenwriter at like lunch. But what ends up happening is his agent is like, okay, there's this birthday party. This guy's offering you $1 million if you'll come. He's a huge fan. Later, it's revealed that like he also had a movie script from this guy that his agent never gave him. But the guy whose birthday party he's going to is Javi, played by Pedro Pascal. So Nick Cage goes because he's like, I need to get myself right for my daughter, for my ex-wife. Like, I have to be a better guy all around. He goes to Majorca, and as soon as he lands, it is revealed that the FBI is trying to get this guy, Javi. And so then throughout the whole movie, it is a mix of an action, like, I guess, spy drama, kind of. And these two dudes, Javi and Nick, becoming best friends and almost falling in love with each other. I feel like we should go down through all of the scenes from when he gets with Javi on because peak comedy.
Absolutely, like their chemistry, and I like I can only imagine what it is like to work with your idol and then also know that, and also just like be able to pal around with them and like be able to bounce off of them so easily. But that's throughout their interactions. It's just like the two of them on screen together, like you can't pull away from them. So yeah, I think like that, that first introduction where he's on the speedboat and like talking like pure and complete shit about Javi is a really good example because you you kind of see like Javi's listening to him and he's just like really excited that like Nick Cage is right behind him, and it's just like it doesn't even matter, like everything is gonna be perfect today, like this is gonna be the best birthday ever. I'm just gonna like toot my little boat over the island and it's gonna be amazing, we're gonna have a great time. And it's so this is one of those roles where like trailer he is kind of implied to be like the bad guy or the villain of the movie, and I expected Pedro to do like a you know his villainous turn that he usually does when he plays like a nice dude who like turns out to be a big jerk, but we did not get that with Javi. We got this delightful cinnamon roll of a man who just like
wait, like listen, this movie when he is talking to Gabrielle and she's like, how is he? And he's like, you know, movie stars, they say that like they're taller than they are. He was perfect. He was just as tall as I thought. Like, he is just so obsessed in like the best way. And this guy is just genuinely loves Nick Cage and movies and like hates the life that he got put in and is like, great, I'll pretend to be whatever you need me to be as long as I can still like have a Nick Cage collection and invite Nick Cage to my birthday party.
Right.
To all, like, this movie, basically, he gets there, Nick Cage is like, what do I have to do? And they're like, you just have to show up at his birthday party. And
Mhm.
so he is laying by the pool, kind of being like a bit of an asshole. Like, he's like, I don't really want to be here, but now that I am, whatever. And so he tells, like, Javi is talking to him at the pool, and Nick Cage reveals that he wants to retire. And so Javi is like, I can't let him retire. I'm going to inspire him and remind him what it's like to be an actor.
Mhm.
And so he takes him on this weird ass trip to to these cliffs and starts a whole scene where he is with the daughter of someone he's not supposed to be with, and then Nick Cage is like, what are you doing? And he's like, I didn't forget what he even says, but he makes Nick Cage jump off of a cliff, and it is one of the funniest moments because they're like real into the action part, and they're like, we got this, blah 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 blah. And then they go to run off the cliff, and as soon as they jump, it is both of them being like, oh fuck, it's a cliff. Like as if like
they're so in it, they don't even like really notice that like clearly they are jumping like and it's not exactly like they're jumping into like steep water or anything either. I'm like, there are definitely rocks there. But they're fine, which is good. They got
it did
through
then
it.
give us this picture of Pedro Pascal smoking. He's smoking drugs, guys.
Oh, okay. I was gonna be like, sir, is that tobacco? Excuse me?
No, in the scene,
no big deal, guys. He's just smoking drugs.
He's smoking drugs. No, because in the scene, remember, he's like, Nick Cage says to him, I'm more of an alcohol guy, because he's smoking pot on like the cliffs of whatever. This is where they filmed. This was where they filmed Game of Thrones, but like it's supposed to be Spain, but I think it was in Croatia. Like, it's supposed to be Majorca, but that's not where they were. Anywho's it's okay, so like they become best friends. I can't remember. Has the FBI already spoken to Nick Cage at this point? No, because they become best friends first.
They become best friends first, but by then, like, they've gotten the tracker on Nick Cage.
Yeah, because so like the FBI, Tiffany Haddish realizes like, oh, we got to get Nick Cage. He's going to that guy, so like he'll lead us to wherever Javi is. Because the point of this movie is they're trying to find a kidnapped girl because she's being held captive by like the head of they think Javi is a drug dealer and like using this politician's daughter to get him to drop out, so then someone who would let him do his bidding will get in charge. That's what the gun cartel. Thank you, Ashley. So it's but what you learn is that like the FBI wants Nick to find her because they think she's on the compound. But before they do that, Nick Cage starts to become best friends with Javi. After they jump on the cliff, they have like an honest conversation with each other. And at the end of that honest conversation, Nick Cage is like, okay, so like, or Javi asked Nick Cage, what are your favorite movies? Or top 3, I think it was. And Nick Cage gives him his top 3. Or no, he said he couldn't pick. So then Javi answers it, and Javi is like, a movie that Nick Cage loves because he talked about it earlier in the movie, Face Off, because he's correct. And then he delays for a really long time, and like no, wrong picture. Sorry, everyone. So he delays for a really long time. And they're like, they go back to the house. They're like drinking all this stuff, and Nick Cage is like, quit delaying. What's your favorite movie? And he says it is Paddington 2.
Yes.
And Nick Cage gives him shit. And then he says, I cried through the entire thing. It made me want to be a better man.
It's true. It's true. It's cinema. Like if you watch Paddington 2, and I'm not even like committing to the bit here, but like that movie is really, really, really good, and it deserves that recognition.
It does. Like, truly, in all honesty, that movie is so good, and I just sobbed. Much like Javi, I sobbed through the whole thing. But then it cuts to Nick Cage because he was like, Javi's like, you gotta watch it. And so Nick Cage was like, fine. And then he sobbed through the whole thing. So,
Mhm.
like, what we learned is that, it's the truth.
Yeah,
It's the
That's
truth. Paddington 2 rules.
it
But
should get an Oscar every single year.
you're correct.
That's why the Oscars are failing. But go on, sorry.
Then we learn that about the script, that Javi actually like sent Nick Cage a script, wants Nick Cage to read his script, be in his movie, all that kind of stuff. And so Nick is like, send it to me, I'll go read it. And he goes to a bar. Meanwhile, we have not talked about little Nicky.
Mm-hmm.
So Nicky
Mm-hmm.
is the younger version of Nick Cage that like kind of became the Nick Cage that everyone assumed was the real Nick Cage, meaning a little out there, like a wild man and kind of crazy, because that was the like mantra of his career in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nikki is the representation of that version of Nick Cage. And so Nick, while high and drunk, goes to this bar to read a Javi screenplay, and in the bar makes out with Nikki, a version of himself. And I've never been happier to watch Nick Cage make out with Nick Cage.
That's what we call self-love. Radical self-love right there on display. I loved it because it was like my viewing of this film was about like 4 or 5 days after. It was like the middle of the day on a Tuesday. And I just walked down the street to like my local AMC, and save for like one couple, everybody else there was like a lady like just sitting with like our little hoodies on, and everybody was cracking up during that particular moment. It was the right audience to watch this film with. But yeah, it was good. That was one of the moments where I was just like, oh yeah, I'm in the right place.
Everyone's like, hell yeah, we're laughing at this.
We're gonna do it.
But yeah, so like he comes out of the bar and the FBI like throw him into a van and reveal that Javi, who meanwhile he just spent the whole night with, and this man said that his favorite movie is Paddington 2. The FBI tell him like, hey, that guy is a evil gun cartel, like the head of the gun cartel. Like, you can't trust him. He's gonna try and kill you. And the entire time Nick Cage was like, Javi, you're talking about Javi. And they're like, yeah, he goes, I'm a thespian, like I know how to read people, and that's you're wrong. The funniest joke to me that he is like, I'm an actor, I know how to read people, and you're wrong about that. Which Ike Barinholtz has a great reaction because Ike's like, hey guys, sorry we did all this work. Like, the actor Nicolas Cage said that we're wrong. It rolls. But
Amazing.
they revealed to him like, hey, the kidnapped girl, we think he has her on the compound. Like, we need you to do all this like FBI stuff for us. And so he agrees because he doesn't really have a choice.
Mhm.
And so then we see Nick Cage at Javi's birthday, and they're like, okay, here's what we gotta do. We're gonna shut off the power at this birthday, and you have to go like into this the security room there and like try and get the footage so we can see where she is. And so it goes from like this kind of weird comedy into like a legit spy movie, but it's still hilarious because Nick Cage is playing himself, not the spy we know he can be in movies. And so he almost dies because he slaps himself with like their numbing agent that they gave him to like knock people out with. And then he has to climb out onto like the wall of this house to try and get the antidote. Only to discover that the mouse pad in the security room is one covered with pictures of Nick Cage. But he survives. He gets the antidote. The cops, and by cops I mean the FBI agents, realize that that the girl, like, they couldn't find her, and so they're like, you have to find a reason to stay. And so he goes out to the party while Javi is doing like a speech, and he says, I have decided, like, I read Javi's screenplay, it's so good. I'm gonna help him work on one. Like, we're gonna write one together. And Javi is so excited that Nick Cage.
I know. It's just like the faces he makes in this movie, like my soft spot for like adorable golden retriever guys, just like exploded. I was like, oh no, like this is so adorable. He's so hopeful. He believes in so many nice things and has hope for the world.
Well, it's so nice because it's like a really fun contrast between like the FBI agents telling him, like Tiffany Haddish keeps telling him, like, no, like this guy's bad, and Nick Cage is like, you are not. We're not talking about the same guy.
Yeah, it's like, no, not this guy. I mean, like, it's you have to be a little empathetic to be an actor, I guess. And I like throughout the movie how like the everything that people say about talent behind their backs is kind of like put in the spotlight through like the things Nicolas Cage says and does. So,
yeah. But so like he is like, okay, like I'm working on this screenplay with this guy. And so they tell him, like, they find this like weird room, like that's secluded away, and they're like, we think she's in there. And so he goes to investigate, and while he's over there, Javi comes over and he's like, I figured out what we need to do to help us write the screenplay. We need divine inspiration. So these two lovely dumbasses go on an acid trip because they take LSD, and they're like, all right, let's go drive into town on LSD and try and figure out our movie. Which leads to them thinking they're being watched by these two random ass people, and then two different random ass people who just happen to look like two people, and they're running around all over town, looking like this: Nick Cage in a striped shirt and Javi in a brown. But like what happens is, so they go running, and I'm sure you've seen in the trailer, if you haven't watched this movie, folks, they climb up this wall trying to escape from these people, and Javi is like, pull me up, and he falls, and so he's like, you can't lift me, leave me behind, go Nick Cage. And Nick Cage is like, I'll never forget you, and the two of them are acting as if like he's about to get murdered, only to discover that the wall they climbed up, you could easily walk around.
He's fine, everybody.
He's fine.
Yay!
And then they see two people who look similar to the people that they thought were chasing them. And so they go running again. And it results in Javi getting run over by a car. And so they run into the like actually said that wig is terrible. So then they run into the car, and one of my favorite parts about this movie is that Javi will like bring up making of featurette information about movies. And so like he gets in the car and he's like, you have to drive. He's like, I can't drive. I can't drive on LSD. He goes, no, but I know you're a better driver than me. I watched the Gone in 60 Seconds featurette. And so then he's like, oh yeah, you're right. And so Javi is in his little sports car, and Nick Cage crashes the car like 3 times on the way back to the house. But they finally get there. Javi's asleep, so Nick Cage is like, okay, I can do it. I'm gonna go see what was up in that room, and goes to discover that Javi has like a shrine of Nick Cage memorabilia, which includes the golden guns from Face Off, with a wax figure of Nick Cage, the glove from moonstruck. I don't know if you caught that. The camera pans over the table. The moonstruck glove is on the table. Every like room that these people think this girl is in, she's not. And so, yet again, Nick Cage keeps telling the FBI agents, like, you got the wrong guy. There's no way it's this guy. He is too sweet.
Mhm.
And the two of them just seem to start genuinely like having a friendship with each other as they're working on their movie that is a
Oh yeah. The plot of their movie just keeps changing.
yeah,
Like as their conversations continue, they're like, "Oh, well, it should be a Ashley said a character-driven drama."
yeah.
Which is like the most like vague thing you can pitch to your friend at 3 a.m. in like the lobby of a hotel on LSD. Like, yeah, man, we should like do a script. It should be like a, something different, like a character-driven
Yeah,
drama.
they're like, it's a character piece. And so then like the FBI keeps pushing him, like because he's talking about he's like, we're writing this movie. And so Tiffany Haddish is like, okay, well, why don't you just suggest that there is a kidnapping in the movie? And so Nick Cage does so, thinking that he's like, okay, this is how I'll get him, right? So the hottest scene for me is Pedro Pascal in this orange shirt and they're skeet shooting.
Mhm.
There it is again. I don't know if you guys know what skeet shooting is, but it's when you go like pull and then you shoot the gun at the moving target,
Mhm.
and that's what they're doing. And so Nick Cage is talking about the kidnapping, and Pedro Pascal or Javi is like, why would there be a kidnapping? That doesn't make sense. And so he starts to get angrier and angrier. And so Nick Cage is like, oh my God, they were right. This is the leader of the gun cartel. Holy shit. Only to then hear Javi say, you can just admit that you have unfinished like drama with your daughter that you need to patch up. And so it's like every time you think
Mhm.
like this guy is it's not. Javi is like talking about Nick's daughter and the pain in their relationship.
Mhm.
Um
Playing against his usual type. That's
yeah,
what I was saying.
in a great way. But
Mhm.
so Javi, thinking he's helping, brings Nick's ex-wife and daughter to Majorca to be like, hey, you guys need to hash this out because your relationship problems are stopping us from writing a movie. At the same time, the FBI is caught and the cartel is aware of what's going on. And like Tiffany Haddish calls him flipping out while Nick Cage is like, well, this monster brought my wife and daughter here. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's so funny because the entire time Javi is like genuinely like, well, how about like he's like trying to fix their family problems, and
Yeah.
Nick Cage is like, how they can leave, right? And Javi's like, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't they be able to leave? As soon as you guys patch this up, I'll send them home. And it's like genuinely funny watching Javi not understand what's going on and
Mhm.
Nick Cage being like over dramatic about like they can go home, right? But it is sadly revealed that the actual leader of the gun cartel is Javi's cousin, who we met
Mhm.
earlier in the movie, but Javi has no idea that he stole this girl, or kidnapped this girl, has no idea about anything that's been going on. And so his cousin is like, you need to go kill Nick Cage. Nicolas Cage is working with the FBI. And the FBI is like, you have to kill Javi. Like, that's
Mhm.
like, you're our only hope because they know we're looking for him. And so Javi and Nick have a standoff almost. Like, after they both realize what they have to do, they like walk to each other. Uh, Javi in some nice loafers, Nick in a pair of Vans.
Mhm.
That is important, guys. And so then they're like, we should go talk about our movie, like, back by the cliff. Like, we should just go back there. It's a great area.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nick did go and steal the golden guns back. And Javi was given a gun. So the two of them go, and they're sitting in this truck together, and like clearly neither of them want to hurt the other because they like stall in the weirdest ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I love it because like everything they're doing at this point is like intensely over dramatic for the reality of their situation, but because they're both so in it and so like, oh my god, this is so real for me, like it's hilarious to see them move around each other and like act like, oh, this is the last time I'm gonna see him, like I have to shoot him now, oh my god.
yeah, and they're like they're just sitting in this Jeep, and Nick looks over and goes, "Oh, are those new shoes?" to Javi, and Javi's like, "No, I've had these shoes." And Nick's like, "They're great." He goes, I don't really know if they're me, but they look great on you." And so they just switch shoes because Nick Cage tries them on, and Javi's like, "They look great. You should have them." And he's like, "These would look good on you. Do you want these?" And they're like finding dumb ways to like stall because they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hurt each other because they're best friends. And so finally they get out and they walk over to like the woods, and Javi says something like, "I really genuinely liked you. That's why this makes this so hard." And he like turns and pulls the gun, and Nick goes, "The same goes for me." And he pulls out the golden guns from Face Off, and Javi is like, "You stole my guns?" And Nick's like, "They're my guns." And they're like, they start fighting over the guns for a second, but
Mm-hmm.
then they just start screaming that they love each other.
Mm-hmm.
Instead
Then
of
there's like a Lionsgate TikTok like duet that I think both of us used for this
yeah.
scene. And it was like I was so curious about the full context because I had no idea how to act and as usual. And like seeing this actual scene play out was kind of funny for me.
Yeah, well, because it's like looking at it on paper is just like the two of them are like, I love you, man.
Mhm.
But in the reality of the scene is like there are very high stakes, and yet the two of them cannot like do anything other than proclaim their love for each other.
I
um
love it.
it's so good. But then like instantly, like his cousin knew that he wasn't gonna kill Nick Cage. And so the cartel comes after them and is shooting. So the two
Mhm.
of them are running. And it's hilarious because Nick Cage is like, I can barely run. Uh you've trapped me with like you've given me what amounts to loafers as they're running. And so the two of them are hiding behind this big ass rock,
Mhm.
and like Nick they see the Jeep, and this scene's great because the whole time they're trying to figure out who has to go and get the Jeep, and yet both go together anyway. Because
Mhm.
it's like Nick Cage being like, I can't run in these shoes. And Javi's like, okay, but even in those shoes, you run faster than I do because you were ahead of me the entire time we were running down this hill. Like, you run to the car. And so Nick Cage is like, okay, you're right. I'll run to the car. And then Javi goes, wait, if you go, I go. And I'm like, oh my God. So why did you have this conversation?
I love
Um,
it.
and so they get in the Jeep, they get back to the compound to learn that Nick's daughter was taken
Mhm.
because they want to use her against America, essentially, because they want America to mind their fucking business. And
Right.
so uh, Nick's ex-wife, Gabrielle, who Javi revealed to Nick that he had a crush on but couldn't be with her because of the cartel it being too dangerous. I'll get in a car and they're like, all right, we're gonna go to Javi's like safe house.
Mhm.
But or no, sorry, first they have to go to the FBI. There is revealed that like the cousin has already gotten to the FBI. They killed Ike Barinholtz, who's just sitting in a chair in
He's
the
like
back.
dead by the time we get there, and it's like, and then Tiffany Haddish like dies once and then comes back and then dies again after she gets like a good hit in, and
Yeah.
then everybody gets there afterward.
Yeah, and they get there and like they're like, "Oh shit." Like, all right, well, we have no hope. So they go to this house to come up with a plan. And the plan is basically there's an Italian like mob guy who has like been in hiding for years, so no one knows what he looks like anymore. And he wants to now like team up with Javi's cousin's cartel. And so Nick Cage is like, that's how we'll get into where they are. Like, I'll pretend to be that guy. And so he goes full Coppola. That was like in my second screening, I was so mad because this like we were there. Some guy thought every single thing that happened in this movie was funny in a way where I'm like, I don't think you actually think any of this is funny. I think you're just like told that you're supposed to laugh. But the one joke that I think is the funniest in this movie, he didn't laugh at, which is when Javi's cousin calls him Javi Ford Coppola. Because it is, if you don't know that Nick Cage is a Coppola, that shit's not funny. So I think it's very funny. But anyways.
A little lore.
Nick Cage is a Coppola, and he changed his name to Nick Cage because he didn't want to just answer questions about his uncle, Francis Ford Coppola. Which means he's also Jason Schwartzman's cousin. And there's a whole little brood of them.
Yep.
But Nick Cage is my favorite Italian American.
That's your Nick Cage to Star Wars connector. Is Sofia Coppola is his cousin. Sofia Coppola was one of Padme's handmaidens in the prequel trilogy.
Yep. And so my favorite Italian American, Nicolas Cage.
But
so he
right here first, I am not her favorite Italian American.
I'm not my own favorite. My whole family not in line with Nick Cage.
Fair, completely fair. Yeah, it's okay. Sorry.
Sorry, Mom. Oh, brother. But so he pretends to be this like Italian mob boss. Goes in to like the thing, and like basically Sharon Horgan is the reason that they survive, because she's like, go ahead and kill him. I knew you weren't going to kill him, because if you were, you would have already done it. To his cousin, and he's like, oh, okay, you're right. Yeah, like I'm glad you guys are like teaming up with us, essentially. But it is they're horrible at being spies, because the two of them instantly like are like, oh wait, fuck, we have to go and find our daughter and also like this kidnapped girl. And eventually like they get to the girls. They get like into the thing, they escape because Javi comes and helps them. Like it's a bunch of action stuff. It's hard to describe. It's an action sequence. They get the girls out because he's Nick fucking Cage. And they are driving off, but like they have to get to the embassy, because then their cousin can't do anything to them, because then it would become even more of a huge to do. So Javi is like, all right, I'll stop, like I'll delay them and let you guys go to safety. So Javi's like, I'll delay them, like you guys jump out, or I'll jump out, like, and he does. And so then Cage instantly hits the brakes and is like, what are you doing? And he's like, I need to do this, like you guys have to go, like go get them to safety. Gabrielle, who he loves, stays with him, and the two Javi and her smooch, and he gets to use the golden guns and shoot at his cousin, and it is so cool. And he like one of the cars flips, he gets shot, so you're like, oh no, what's happening with Javi? Is Javi okay? And then there's this huge car chase through the streets, trying to get to with both kidnapped girls to the embassy. And I did forget to mention in the beginning, one of the greatest payoffs of this movie is that it starts with the kidnapping of the like politician's daughter, and she's watching I think she's watching Con Air in the beginning of the movie, and she gets like, once they get to safety and she's sitting in the back of the car, she realizes that it's Nick Cage, and she's like, oh my god, it's Nick Cage, like, because she clearly likes Nick Cage. And I love that in this town everyone just obsessed with fucking Nick Cage. But they get to the embassy, they're standing outside, like the cousin's like clearly willing to shoot them in the embassy. Like he doesn't give a shit. He's like, I will shoot somebody, get in the car, I'm leaving. And so the the politician's daughter like shows Nick Cage's daughter that there is a knife in the car, and so she's like, Dad, and she throws the knife. And as she throws the knife in the movie that we're watching, it switches into
Mhm.
like the movie that Javi and Nick have been writing, which
Mhm.
for me as a human being, friends of the podcast, my favorite show on this planet is Parks and Recreation. My cat is named Benjamin Wyatt. So it is not surprising that I instantly clocked that their movie is Pawnee City
Yes!
Hall. Because
Oh,
when it switches to the movie that Javi and Nick made, they clearly filmed
yes.
it in Pasadena
I
because
noticed that. I was like, oh my God, is that the building for Parks and Rec?
no,
Like,
because the building from Parks and Rec is Pasadena City Hall.
Mhm.
And then obviously in Parks and Rec, they just pretend it's Pawnee. And
Amazing.
so when I went to visit my friends, because I lived in Cali when I was a teenager. When I went to visit, I made my friend take me to Pasadena City Hall. And she was like, why? And I was like, because it's the City Hall from Parks and Rec. And so this City Hall right here is where the final embassy thing in their movie
Mhm.
happens. And it's Nick Cage killing or wounding, we don't know if he's dead or not, the cousin, and everyone escaping to freedom. Uh, in their movie, Demi Moore is Nick Cage's wife, and
Mhm.
his daughter is a full ass adult, which is great. Like she's like at least a 25-year-old running to
Oh
Nick.
yeah, and they film her that way too.
Yeah,
It's like
it is.
blatant. Like, okay.
It's blatantly like the she's supposed to be a teenager, but is clearly like a 25-year-old. Because
Mhm.
in the movie, like Nick Cage's daughter in the movie is Michael Sheen and Kate Beckinsale's daughter, Lily.
Oh wow, that's funny.
Because her name's Lily Sheen, didn't like correlate the last name for a while, and then Kate Beckinsale kept commenting on all of the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent stuff, and I was like,
Mhm.
why is Kate Beckinsale like rallying this movie?
Oh, because she's being a proud mom.
And then I realized it was because it's her mom.
Yeah, that knife was the other payoff in the movie that I think was fun because I like sometimes I'll notice shots in movies and I'll go like, oh, is this here for a reason or am I supposed to ponder over it? And that was me with the knife like early on in the chase. I was like, okay, this has to like come back at some point, and I like kept expecting to see it at some point, and then boom, right there at the end, we saw that payoff. So that was really fun.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's their movie premiere. Um, Javi is alive and well. He's so
Yay.
excited. And but Nick is like, I want to kind of go home with my family. You take the press, you go to the parties. And so he goes home with his wife and daughter. And in the beginning of the movie, his daughter was complaining about how he always picked the movies and wanted to basically lecture her
Mhm.
on stuff. And so they're like making fun of him. And he's like, okay, what do you want to watch? And she goes, okay, what do you want to put on, Dad? And he's like, no, like, what do you want to watch? We'll watch that. And his daughter suggests Paddington 2.
The
And
best.
so the end of the movie is him and his daughter watching Paddington 2 while his wife sleeps behind them. And
Mhm.
then it pans out into Hollywood and you see the poster for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent directly next to a poster for Scenes from a Marriage. So it was Oscar Isaac and Pedro Pascal.
Perfect.
Um,
Perfect.
and the movie ends with Nick fucking woo Cage, and that is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yay! It was so much fun. Like, it's been a while since I've thoroughly enjoyed a buddy movie as much as I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, because it was
Mhm.
like the way that they did their relationship was just like very fun. Like I was
Yeah,
like,
it was fun. And
this
it
is
actually like
sweet.
focused on like their bond and stuff, and like it wasn't like I feel like all the ways that they bonded as characters weren't fabricated that in such a way that a lot of like bro movies are, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like it was
Mhm.
genuinely like, and it was fun watching Nick Cage both be a little suspect of like, oh, this guy's a fan of mine, but not so much like it was other people being like, hey, you should be worried that that guy is a fan of yours, but not Nick Cage. He was just like, oh, yeah. Are you going to make
This
me do
guy.
this kind of stuff? And he was like, no. And then like they just became boys. And
Yep.
it was really cool how that kind of developed.
Yeah, I loved it. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Like it was a lot of fun, and I had a great theater experience. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. A lot of real big hits out this summer
Yeah.
or early spring, as it is, late spring.
And the fact that Pawnee City Hall was in there, just the icing on my proverbial cake.
Yeah, I love it. Just like nice little ties to everything we love in this film.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, but well, before we go any further, I do want to. I don't know if you have a Nick Cage story, but I have a Nick Cage story, and I feel like I should tell it on this episode, which is partially about Nick Cage.
Yeah. Of course,
Yeah.
obviously.
You were talking earlier about like how he had like a spending problem and stuff. And that reminded me of the way back one time when I was living in New York City and I worked at Sephora in Times Square. And it was like 3 p.m. on like a Wednesday. And I was working the registers and not like looking at the rest of the store. But there was like some whispering, some commotion going on about the store. And, you know, I was like really close to clocking out. So I didn't really try to listen too hard to it so that I could just leave when I had to. And I like knelt down to like do something in like one of the register cubbies. I think it was like refilling it with like bags or whatever. And then I stood up straight and there was Nicolas Cage right in front of me. And like this lady who I assume was like his wife or somebody, I don't know. I don't know that man as well as I know other men. I don't know.
I mean, he's
I don't know his life.
he is. It was probably his old wife. Like he.
Yeah, this was like 2008. I want to say like
It might have been 2 wives ago.
yeah, I might have. Who knows? It might have been 2 wives ago.
I mean,
Either
he's
way,
had
their
like 3
whole
wives recently.
yeah, there was like Nicolas Cage was standing there, and then like 5 baskets worth of makeup were like right in front of him and with this woman, and I like started ringing him out and going like, "Are you?" I like had to. I like kept staring at him a little too much because I was like, "Is that really Nicolas Cage?" Because you know, in New York, it's like you don't really say too much
Yeah.
shit when you see a celebrity, and so I like said under my breath, I'm like, "Are you Nicolas Cage?" And he was like, "I don't know, am I?" And then like he gave me his credit card, and it was him, and and I rung him up, and he was very delightful and wonderful, and then he left the store, and that is my Nicolas Cage story.
I don't have a Nick Cage story, but I just love him
Yeah.
very much.
He's a fun guy. It was good. He could have been very rude, and he was not. He was just
No,
like,
I think he's too strange for that, and I love
no,
him
because
for
yeah,
it.
he's too much of a weirdo. I love it. So
Well,
I'm
'cause
gonna
it's
go with
like
the Mystery Man apply.
I am 30, so I grew up in prime Nick Cage action star era, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember like I love Face Off. I reference Face Off so much in like the dumbest ways, especially like in my articles. Like I will literally talk about like I made a Face Off reference multiple times talking about Black Widow before it came out because I thought they were going to do the comic run where Nat and Yelena swap faces,
Mm-hmm.
like Face Off, and but I love that movie because it's insane. Love Raising Arizona. I finally watched Moonstruck for the first time last like fall because I had never seen Moonstruck. And so like I was I like a lot of his movies I saw growing up, but as an adult, like didn't remember a lot of them because I watched them like as a child with older brothers. The movie that I loved the most was The Family Man, which says a lot about me, a person who loves a good dad. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
like, as a child, I was like, this movie is good. And everyone else was like, it's not. And I was like, I like it. I like this movie. And then I rewatched and I went, I understand why people didn't like it, but I stand by it. Sorry. The only bad thing about it is that it's a Brett Ratner movie. Other than that, I like that movie.
Fair.
But yeah, he's fascinating, and I love that this movie really highlighted that. Like he would switch like how he was approaching things as a character in a way that like was fascinating, because he went from like, I'm a man, I'm Nick Cage, I'm a man, I'm just a normal ass dude, to like, I'm acting, here's me acting about like acting out this scene from a movie. And then later when him and Javi are acting together, he like turns into action star Nick Cage, and all of it was really cool to watch how he did it. And yeah, some fun facts our producer uh reminded us of. One that I already said was that the movie was filmed in Croatia, near where they filmed a lot of Oberyn stuff for Game of Thrones. I believe there's an interview where Pedro Pascal says he went and like saw where they filmed it, which was surreal for him. And also, like, this movie was a little up in the air for a while. I interviewed Tom and Kevin for it in my Face Off t-shirt, so they knew I was an ally, because I have a shirt that says John Travolta, but it's Nick Cage's face on it, which is from the Adam Project. I saw that movie and saw that shirt in the Adam Project and was like, that's great, I want that shirt, and I went and bought it. But Tom and Kevin clearly love Nick Cage, but they couldn't convince Nick Cage to join the movie for a while. So it was offered to Christian Bale and Daniel Day-Lewis, but they weren't switching. They were going to play Nick Cage. So it wasn't like Christian Bale was he was a big Christian Bale fan. He was a Nick Cage fan, but it was going to be Christian Bale being Nick Cage.
Wow.
Which I kind of think is funny.
I think that's amazing. I would love to see that cut.
Yeah, right? I mean,
I want to see that cut, but with Nick Cage's commentary.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Hannah Blackman, who wants to be on Podro and is coming later this season, her and I were talking about like who we think would have played Javi in the movie version. Like, because I was like, I don't think Javi played himself. I think like someone played him. And much to your dad's commenting on our videos, I suggested Santiago as the like hot movie star version of Javi, which is like, the thing is, Pedro Pascal himself is a hot movie star. So it's weird to think of like, what would the movie star equivalent, because it's him. But I was thinking like, okay, well, they're both men from Chile. Like, they are both in nerd bubbles, because Santiago's obviously in Star Trek and he was on Merlin. So I was like, that is like how tangentially I connected the two, versus like, who's the hot movie star version? I was like, because it's still him. But yes, so it was Nick Cage had to be convinced essentially to do this movie. They offered it to him like 5 times, and 5 times he said no.
Oh my god, that is incredible. Wow. I mean, like, as for backup plans, Christian Bale is not that bad of a hilarious backup plan, you know.
No, he would fully commit to it.
Oh, he would. Keanu Reeves as Nick Cage probably would have been a good B plan.
But Keanu Reeves, you could almost do
a Keanu Reeves movie, right?
Yeah, you could have just done Keanu Reeves movies, because someone could just be obsessed with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Speed. Like, it's like him and Nick Cage are in enough of the same sphere that I feel like if you got Keanu Reeves, you might as well just change the little things to Keanu Reeves-isms. But I'm glad Nick Cage said yes, because I think this is such a good movie that like honors him and doesn't like mock him. And I think after Pig, a lot of people were like, oh, Nick Cage is good actually. And I was like, you guys didn't watch Community, because Abed figured that shit out in Community.
Exactly.
He makes Nick Cage noises. But yeah, I love this movie so much. I want to watch it all the time. At my screening, for my press screening, people were cheering as if Nick Cage was there. He simply said Nick fucking woo Cage. and some guy in the front row went, "Woo!" And then from that on, like, everyone was reacting that way.
Amazing.
But yeah.
That's the magic of, I mean, you know, please stay home as much as you can currently, as we are in a pandemic. But it is one of the magical things about watching movies in a theater that I hope we can all safely return to one day, is like listening to people's reactions, because that's part of the experience. So I'm glad that you got that guy who said woo.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent that I may have missed?
I hope there's a second one.
A second movie for them?
A second movie where the FBI calls them in again for another mission together.
What if they had to take down the Italian guy?
But
But it's Francis Ford Coppola.
Yes, they not only that, they have to take down the entire Coppola family, and so
Yeah.
Nick's challenge is to take down his own like cousins and uncles.
Yeah,
and shit.
Jason Schwartzman's like in Sicily.
Yes, please. Oh my god, no! Now I want payment for this.
All right, Tom and Kevin, come on the podcast. We'll give you the idea again, fresh. We'll pretend like we didn't say it.
Exactly, that's the deal. Also, we get invited to the red carpet. That's
Yeah.
That's the deal.
I was the other day. I went and got food from the Essex Market, which is like where they had the premiere, and it's just very funny looking. Like that's where they chose to have the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent premiere in New York, because it's Essex and Delancey. It was like, okay,
Right? Why not make it a little rustic, right?
yeah. They're like, well, there's a Trader Joe's around the corner. It's fine. But yeah. So now, guys, it's our favorite time of the week. Excuse me. Stash. The stash on everybody's lips is gonna be Pedro's. All right. I will go first this week. My stash of the week is my favorite deleted scene ever created, where he is in the pool talking with his little belly hanging out. I love how this scene broke quite literally my entire timeline on Twitter.
I'm pretty sure I saw it like at the end of the day because I was working really hard all day, and like I like saw it and I was like, oh.
Well, my one friend tweeted, my friend Kiko tweeted that she never wanted him to get out of his slut era, I believe. Let me get the exact phrasing that she used. She said, oh, I'm so sorry. She said, Pedro Pascal, please never stop being a hoe, with pictures from this scene, which he liked. And I think that is hilarious that he said agreed.
Hilarious. Good for him.
Yeah, and that is my stash, because he looks good in this whole movie, but that's aces.
Yes. My stash is, I mean, that was an incredible stash. Mine is a little more wholesome. It's the little LSD smile. Like, I was behind the rock the whole time, you guys.
You guys, I'm fine.
Don't worry, I'm right here. Don't worry. I love it. It's just so cute and so happy. He literally looks like an actual cinnamon roll, like someone baked that. So
yeah. And honorable mention,
Pedro Pascal's mom.
Honorable mention is his look from the movie premiere at the end of the movie, where he has a nice little haircut, full stash.
Good for him.
Looking really good. And yeah, and guys, just as a quick reminder,
have you ever listened to Podro Pascal, the podcast all about Pedro Pascal?
No, but I will.
So, if you're listening to this, hi, sir.
Hi.
I'm sorry, but
And there's like, I'm of two minds with this when it comes to knowing that he may or may not listen to this podcast. One mind is very excited and hopeful that he enjoys it. The other one is terrified and hopes that he was like secretly lying and just like being really good at passing the
A lie detector test.
Yeah, and going like, I'm not gonna listen to this shit. Like, I'm so excited, but I'm so terrified. I'm like, God, oh no, oh, what have I said? I don't remember like more than 5 minutes ago at this point. So,
Well, sir, if
knows?
you follow me on Instagram at Rachel_Leishman. Because you already followed me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. But yeah, so Katrina, where can the people find you?
Yeah. You guys can find me anywhere on the internet if you look for Catrina. That's OHCATRINA. I co-host this podcast. I also co-host Y Tu Banta También with my friend Kayla. I write. I'm working on comics, and everything I do is just like on that usually my Twitter feed because that's where I live. So follow me at Katrina, and you'll be able to keep up with stuff, I think. Maybe.
You guys can follow me at Rachel Leishman on Twitter, at Rachel_Leishman on Instagram. I write at The Mary Sue, and I'm here. I'm also going to be at Star Wars Celebration with Katrina and our producer, Ashley. If you would like to see us, tell us that.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out. But guys, we're in season 2. We're trying to put out as much content as possible because now we have momentum.
Yeah.
And a listener whose name could have the initials P and P in it.
Who knows?
Who knows? Not
Maybe
I.
it's Pepe Le Pew. Hopefully not.
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Paula Pabdul listens.
Exactly.
But yeah, we will be back with new episodes, new guests, and maybe we'll do another Triple Frontier episode because I'm me.
Why not? We should be doing at least 3 of them per season.
We'll make Lauren come back for a Triple Frontier.
Ooh. Footnote on this. If we ever do a podcast about Spider-Man, it's got to be called Peter Parker Picked a Podcast.
No one steal that. We'll know. No one steal it.
We'll get you.
We'll know.
We'll get you.
And with that, guys, one more time, we're going to play out Podro Pascal saying he's going to listen to this podcast. And until next time, goodbye.
Have you ever listened to Podro Pascal, the podcast all about Pedro Pascal?
No. But I will.